Welcome to the Mighty Blues. My name is, of course, Cameron, and welcome back to the weekly news roundup, the show where we sit down on a Friday and we go through all of the latest Everton news from the past week. It has been an international break, of course, so Everton do not play this weekend. However, there has still been quite a fair bit of Everton news to get through. Starting with international call-ups, we started this week by finding out that Yerry Mina and James Rodriguez have both been called up to the Colombian national team for their 2022 World Cup qualifiers against Ecuador and Uruguay. They both actually play tonight, which we'll get into a little bit later on in the video, but they have both been called up, along with Ben Godfrey and Tom Davies, who have been called up for the England under-21 squad for their under-21s Euro qualifying games as well. So big congratulations to the lads there for getting their call-ups. Everton sent out an email earlier on this week explaining that fans will be receiving another email, which included a survey regarding the new stadium at Bramley-Moore docks, and specifically discussing the ticket prices and also trying to, sort of gauge a fan opinion on routines and, match day habits and traditions. This included, catering and entertainment, and how fans would like the catering and entertainment in the fan plaza and the stadium to be, as well as the hospitality element of things and safe standing as well. Now, you should have had this email in your inbox over the last couple of days or so, especially if you are a club member or a season ticket holder. You'll have had the initial email, which would have been explaining everything, and then you would have had the survey a couple of days later. It takes around 15-20 minutes to complete. It's just trying to get an overall gauge of fan opinions on ticket prices and, like I said, hospitality and how fans would like the fan plaza and the stadium to look in regards to entertainment and, obviously catering and all of that good stuff. It's fantastic that the club are doing this. Obviously, the club have very much kept in touch with fans regarding Bramley-Moore Dock and how we would like it to look and how we would like it to function when it's up. There's been a lot of public surveys and a lot of opportunities for fans to express their interest and disinterest in certain things regarding the stadium. Obviously, there's been a massive change in regards to the design. There was a big car park on one stand of the stadium that has now been removed, and it's now a staircase. That has come from, obviously, feedback not only from fans but from other companies as well. But it's fantastic that the club are doing this. It's fantastic that the club are asking for feedback. They're wanting to know how fans feel, wanting to know what fans' match days routines are and how they get to the stadium and what they do before that and what they do after the game. Again, it really, really will help in making Bramley-Moore Dock Stadium, when it is up in the next couple of years, feel like a home. The last thing we want to do when leaving Goodison Park, which is, been our home for pretty much the entire existence of the football club over 100 years, the last thing we want to do is move into a stadium which doesn't really feel like a home and feels like you're playing away every week. And okay, it's brand spanking new and it looks boss and it's dead shiny, but you don't really feel like you're going to watch Everton Football Club at home. One thing we can all say about Everton is no matter how bad we are, no matter how many awful managers we've had in the past, no matter how many awful players, not many times would you, when an Evertonian be able to say, I didn't like going to Goodison Park today. Taking away the performance, Goodison is our home. It always will be, it always has been. Yes, we'll move into a new home and go on to bigger and better things, but it's very, very important that, the club not try and replicate what we've got at Goodison Park, because I think it would be near impossible to replicate what we have at Goodison Park, but definitely make the new stadium feel like a home in regards to understanding the fans and their match day routines and what they'd like and what they wouldn't like in and around the ground on a match day, of course. Like I said, the last thing we want is, to go to Bramley-Moore Dock and, it'd be nice, brilliant and shiny, but it not feel like a home and the atmosphere not be there and it'd be awkward sort of to be there, if you like. So it's fantastic that the club are doing this. If you haven't already completed the survey, do have a little look in your emails. Just like I said, if you're registered to Everton Football Club, if you're a season ticket holder, if you're a club member, you should have received the email to complete the survey. It's very, very interesting, and of course everybody's opinion matters on this topic as well. PSG director Leonardo Araujo has been talking about Moise Kean this week. He was asked a direct question about a option to buy purchase at the end of Moise Kean's loan. There's been a few media journalists and outlets that are suggesting that PSG do have an option to buy on the end of Moise Kean's loan deal. Leonardo Araujo absolutely wiped this out the park and said we don't have an option to buy for Moise Kean. Unfortunately, he has been a dry loan from Everton. Not too sure what that means. I assume it means no option to buy. He's been a dry loan from Everton. Kean is a great striker, also for the future, but loan deals in the UK are a bit different. Buy option is not included in this deal. So there you go, that's pretty much clarified, a lot of the rumours that have been floating around over the last couple of weeks or so regarding Moise Kean's future. It doesn't absolutely mean Moise Kean's going to come back to Everton next season and play the season at Everton next season. He may go out on loan again, he may be sold, we don't know, but one thing we do know is that there isn't a buying clause in Moise Kean's loan deal to PSG, so he will be returning to Everton in the summer, unless of course we manage to, to sell him on a permanent deal before then. But if PSG want him, they'll have to put the price on the table, and they'll have to sort of go about it like any other football club would, and not through triggering an option in his contract. Alan was called up to the Brazilian national team this week, and he has been talking about Richarlison and the impact that Richarlison has had on him at Everton Football Club so far. Alan said, Richarlison has helped me a lot in the beginning of the season. On my arrival at Everton, inside the club and inside the field, he has been a very, very important person. Obviously, this is fantastic to hear. Alan coming out and giving praise to not only his national teammate, but of course Richarlison being his club teammate. And of course, Alan's performances in an Everton shirt so far have helped him get back into that Brazil national squad. And Richarlison was present in that press conference that Alan had, where he was speaking about Everton, and he was speaking about the start of the season so far. He was in the background, you've probably seen the pictures, he's cracking a smile, he's having a little bit of a laugh. It was absolutely boss to see, to be fair. So Alan with some very, very complimentary words on Richarlison there. Richarlison himself has also had some complimentary words to say about Everton boss Carlo Ancelotti. He has said that Ancelotti told me that I am in the top 10 forwards. He has trained that I will win the Ballon d'Or and that I will be a scorer in several championships. It is an honour for me and I want to improve even more. It has inspired me. Now, this quote I thought was a nice little quote to just read and go, yeah, that's boss. That's Carlo Ancelotti putting his arm around Richarlison, giving him a confidence boost, telling him that, he's a fantastic footballer. And listen, we all know this, Richarlison is absolutely instrumental to Everton Football Club. We've seen what his absence in the last 3 games has done to the club. We've lost all 3. We haven't looked great in any game, and it's very, very clear that what he brings to the team, both individually and what he brings to everybody else, is so desperately needed. But this quote seemed to wind a few people up. Obviously, those people weren't Evertonians. They supported a certain other football club. But you got a lot of, Ancelotti's managed the Ibrahimovic, Ronaldo, Bale, this, that, the other. How is Richarlison in his top 10? He's lying. Listen, nobody knows who Carlo Ancelotti's top 10 best forwards he's ever managed, or best defenders, or best goalkeepers are. The only person who knows that is Carlo Ancelotti, and whoever Carlo Ancelotti is personally told. And I dare say he hasn't told Dave from Cambridge, who just has got a profile picture of a gold circle. So nobody knows who Carlo Ancelotti's favourite players he's ever managed are, other than him, and like I said, the close people that he has told. Richarlison's coming out and saying he's told him that he's in his top 10 forwards. He may well be in his top 10 forwards. Again, Carlo Ancelotti isn't going to say something that he doesn't genuinely believe. So as far as I'm concerned, anybody that is throwing all that, he's not, why is he lying to him, just do us a favour and go away, because you don't know what you're talking about. For me, it's a fantastic quote by Carlo Ancelotti, and again, the last couple of words of that quote, it inspires me, it makes me want to do more. That's exactly why Carlo Ancelotti has had that conversation with Richarlison. That was exactly the point of it. The point of it wasn't to make people go, well, hang on, he's managed these 15 forwards that have won the Champions League, so what's he talking about? It was the same objective as when he told Seamus Coleman he was one of the best captains he's ever worked under. The same objective as when he told Dominic Calvert-Lewin that he'll be an absolute world beater if he carries on. That objective is to get the players in, give them a confidence boost, and make them think, no, you know what? I am good enough, and I need to be doing better, and I need to be performing every single week, and I need to be repaying the manager for the kind words and for the opportunities that he's given me. Look at what it's done to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Carlo Ancelotti's come in, and I dare say at the end of last season put his arm around Dom and said, look, you can be one of the best in world football if you carry on. Dominic Calvert-Lewin scored again last night for England, a fantastic penalty, full of confidence, 11 goals or 12 goals in 10 games so far this season. He's on world class form. Look at what it's done to Seamus Coleman. Carlo come in, put an arm around Seamus Coleman and said, you're one of the best captains, if not the best I've ever worked under. All of a sudden, Seamus Coleman's performing well week in, week out. He's getting in people's faces. He's making sure that, players know he's there. He's making sure that he's leading, he's being a captain. He's done the exact same to Richarlison here. And I've got no problem with that whatsoever. Like I said, for me, the most important part of that quote is the last couple of words. It inspires me even more. It makes me want to do better. That's exactly what you want to hear from your players, and that's exactly what you want your manager telling your players. I fully expect Richarlison to come out now, in the next couple of games, obviously after the international break, and perform very, very well in order to give that back to Carlo Ancelotti. And yeah, like I said, some very, very good words there from Richarlison on Carlo as well. In regards to the internationals then, and the games that are already played, Cenk Tosun played for Turkey in their 3-3 draw against Croatia a couple of days ago. He actually won and scored a penalty in that game. However, it wasn't the biggest talking point. The biggest talking point was that Croatia defender Domagoj Vida actually found out that he had tested positive for coronavirus at half-time. So he was allowed to play the first 45 minutes of the game despite finding out that he had contracted the virus at half-time. Again, just another reason as to why this international break is absolutely, completely pointless. There's no need for it whatsoever. We're in the middle of a global pandemic and players are being flown left, right and centre all around the world to play with, players that aren't in their social bubble and that they haven't seen for weeks and months. It's completely pointless. I will never understand it. I think I'm actually going to do a live stream on Monday talking about the international break, because there's already been a couple of situations regarding Everton Football Club that we'll talk a little bit more about in a second, that are directly affected by this international break. But how Vida was allowed to play the first 45 minutes knowing full well that he hasn't had his result back for his test yet, I don't know. I don't know who sanctioned that. Whoever did needs a serious talking to, because he's put, people's lives at risk, people's jobs at risk ultimately there. And I dare say Cenk Tosun will have to have a test and test positive before returning to USM Finch Farm within the next couple of weeks or so. But the result was 3-3. It was a 3-3 draw between Turkey and Croatia, and Cenk Tosun did win and score a penalty on that day. Yesterday was a very, very important day for a certain Everton legend. Kevin Radcliffe's 60th birthday, Everton's most successful captain ever. 2 goals for the Blues, one of them being a really important one in a Merseyside derby. 4 trophies, 493 games, an absolute Everton legend. Like I said, the most successful captain in the history of our football club. So big happy birthday to Kevin Radcliffe. We hope he did have a fantastic day. And yeah, again, he's a player that I think a lot of this current squad should be looking at and aspiring to achieve what he achieved at this football club. So big happy birthday to Kevin Radcliffe. And like I said, hopefully he had a fantastic day. Little bit of injury news then. Not great. Seamus Coleman missed out on Ireland's game with England yesterday due to an injury that he picked up on Wednesday in training. This was, of course, announced after the Ireland team news was announced yesterday prior to the game, and Seamus Coleman was absent. It was, then later announced that he had picked up an injury in training on Wednesday and was unavailable for the game. Everton confirmed today that Seamus will return to USM Finch Farm next week to be assessed by Everton's medical team regarding the injury. So he will leave the Ireland camp and be assessed next week by Everton's medical staff at USM Finch Farm. Not good news, of course, for Seamus Coleman. Not good news for Everton. Look, I've seen a lot of Evertonians suggesting that Seamus calls it a day internationally now, because obviously of the injuries that he's had and the recurring issues. Ultimately, that decision is down to Seamus Coleman, and nobody can force him to make that decision. Nobody really can make that decision for him. That's down to himself. But it does seem like, especially with Seamus, every time he goes on international duty, he picks up some form of injury, and then ultimately comes back to Everton not able to play in the next game, which isn't great for us, considering he's been one of our best players so far this season, and certainly one of our most important players as well. So I would like to hope that the injury to Seamus is nothing too serious. I would like to hope that he can get up and sort of shake it off. But, he will return to USM Finch Farm later this week to be assessed by Everton's medical team. Another big bit of news regarding that game is Ireland midfielder Alan Brown actually tested positive for COVID-19 as well. He tested positive after the game. But, of course, that game involved Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Michael Keane, Jordan Pickford was amongst the substitutes as well. So, again, 3 of those players being affected by a positive test in what was a pointless international game. Look, I half understand playing the the qualifiers, whether it be the Euro qualifiers or the World Cup qualifiers, but playing friendlies during a global pandemic, making players fly left, right and centre and mix with each other when they ordinarily wouldn't need to, is just completely and utterly bonkers. It's a money move for a start. It's just in order to make money. But it makes absolutely no sense. And again, in the same situation as Cenk Tosun with Turkey, Everton will now have to have a look at Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Michael Keane and Jordan Pickford and hope that they test negative in order for them to be involved in the Premier League squad in the next few weeks or so. Talking about England then, Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Michael Keane did both start that game for England yesterday. Jordan Pickford was amongst the substitutes and was not used. England won 3-0. Dominic Calvert-Lewin converting a penalty very, very coolly to get England's third. Listen, massively impressed with Dominic Calvert-Lewin with that penalty situation. He didn't win the penalty. It was won by Saka of Arsenal, but Dom was the first player to get over there, to step up, to want the ball and to want to take the penalty. And, that's exactly what you want to see from your striker. You want to see your striker, as soon as a penalty becomes available, you want to see them going over and picking that ball up. That's what you've seen from the likes of Harry Kane notoriously over the last few years. It doesn't matter who wins the pen. Harry Kane is always the first player to go over and say, give me the ball, I'm the penalty taker. And if Everton put the faith in Dominic Calvert-Lewin to take their penalties from now on, then for me he adds 3 or 4, maybe even more goals a season to his tally. He's only ever taken 3 penalties in his career and they've all been at international level, which is very strange. He's never taken a penalty at club level. I think he scored 2 of them and he rattled the bar on one of them, but it was a fantastic penalty yesterday, right into the top corner. No goalkeeper in world football was saving that one. And again, fantastic to see, not only because Dominic Calvert-Lewin's on the score sheet again for his country, but also because it showed the confidence of him to step up and go, no, I'm taking this penalty, I'm the striker, I haven't scored, I want to score. And it reminded me of a quote that Dominic Calvert-Lewin said a few months back. He said when he first come to Everton, when he was played up front, he was mainly focused on having a good game. He wasn't really focused on scoring goals or, getting on the assists. As long as he worked hard and as long as we won and he had a good game, that was acceptable for him. Whereas now, if he leaves the field and he hasn't scored, and, when he's not on the score sheet, then it's disappointing for him and he's not happy. And again, this showed that type of attitude. That penalty and the confidence and the way he stepped up, the way he grabbed the ball and the way he took it, showed that confidence from Dominic Calvert-Lewin yesterday, that is the case, that he wants to be on the score sheet. And if he's not going to be on the score sheet through open play, then if you get a penalty, he is grabbing it and he is taking it because he wants that goal, which is obviously fantastic to see. And that's what you need your striker to have. That's the attitude you need your striker to have. Gylfi Sigurdsson scored for Iceland yesterday in their 2-1 defeat to Hungary. He scored the opening goal on the 11 minutes. It was a free kick, which I must admit was absolutely dreadful goalkeeping, but nevertheless he scored again, which is fantastic for Gylfi. However, Iceland did concede 2 very, very late goals. I think it was something like the 87th minute and the 92nd minute, and they unfortunately will not qualify now due to those late goals, which is very, very disappointing for Iceland. Good for Gylfi Sigurdsson to get on the score sheet, but of course very disappointing in the end. There was a rumour regarding Richarlison a little bit earlier on in this week. This come out of Sport Witness, and it was that apparently Gabriel Menino of Brazil tested positive for coronavirus, and of course he was in the Brazilian national setup with Alan and Richarlison. That journalist who put that tweet out hasn't said much since, other than listing the names of Premier League footballers that had mixed with Gabriel prior to his positive test, but he did answer a DM to an Evertonian a little bit later on in the week, which said that Alan and Richarlison have both tested negative, and Alan and Richarlison are both actually in action today for Brazil. We don't know if they're in the starting 11, but Everton have tweeted out that they'll both be in action, so I dare say they're okay to play, which would suggest that they either have tested negative or that situation that journalist put out wasn't quite what it was made out to be, but it was put out there anyway, and it's it's a bit of news and it's definitely something worth keeping an eye on. But I wouldn't worry too much, because the same journalist who put out there didn't say that either player tested positive. They said that he was mixing with a player who they were mixing with a player who tested positive, and then come out in a DM a little bit later on and said that they'd both tested negative. Luca Dean, unfortunately, was subject to a 2-0 defeat to Finland. His French team lost a shock game to Finland earlier on in the week, and they'll be looking to bounce back within their next couple of fixtures. And to round up today's weekly news roundup, it has been a longer one than usual. There's been a lot of news this week. To round it up, I want to go through today's international games for you all to check in on and watch if you want to. Alex Iwobi is in action today for Nigeria. They will play Sierra Leone in the African Cup of Nations. That game has actually just kicked off 34 minutes ago as of recording this video. 4 p.m. kick-off. So by the time this goes up, it'll probably be over. Ben Godfrey and Tom Davies are in action for England under-21s. They will play Andorra tonight. 7:30 kick-off in the under-21 Euro qualifier. Nathan Broadhead is also in action for Wales versus Moldova. That is a 5 p.m. kick-off, again a Euro 2021 qualifier, under-21 qualifier, James Rodriguez and Yerry Mina will both be in action for Colombia tonight against Uruguay. That is a World Cup qualifier and will kick off at 8:30 p.m. And Richarlison and Alan will be in action for Brazil against Venezuela. That is late in the night. It's actually early tomorrow morning, 12:30 a.m. kickoff, and that again is a World Cup qualifier. And that about rounds it up for today's weekly news roundup. If you have enjoyed it, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Let me know any news that I may have missed out on that you want me to comment on and talk about in the comment section down below, and we will get involved with as much of that as possible. Once again, a big thanks for watching. If you have enjoyed it, please do hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new. We'll be live again on Monday. Don't forget to check out today's live stream. Myself and Cal sat down and talked more about Everton Football Club, so check that one out if you haven't already. Big thanks for watching. Leave a like if you've enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.